Are we all set up with the good old?
Yep.
Okay. This is the regular Public Safety Committee meeting of Thursday, November 12th, 10 o'clock a.m., soon to be, I hope, 11 o'clock a.m. Let's have a roll call. We'll go around. We'll start with Ken.
Ken Bukowski, videographer.
Betsy Cooley, resident.
Adrian Robinson, Police Department.
Fran Chapetta, Watergate resident.
Mary Farrell, Residents Oversight Group in Watergate.
Dan Marchetti, Watergate Traffic Patrol.
Jason Bassetti, Emeryville Police.
Scott Donahue, City Council.
Nora Davis, City Council.
Jennifer Tejada, Police Department.
Scott, we have a little conflict. We had to talk to you about this meeting because the chief has to be at the Alameda County Chiefs Association. And we're asking if you would move it to 11 o'clock.
Move this meeting to 11.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can do that.
there we go. You'll have to take care of all the changes with
Yes,
the city clerk.
we will. Thank
Okay,
you so much.
11 o'clock, second Thursday.
You need time.
Oh, you mean not today, but future meetings?
At
Yeah.
future meetings.
Oh, yes, future meetings, no problem.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, you started a really good thing. Okay. We did the roll call, so.
Okay, public comment.
Yeah, I recorded a meeting in Richmond 2 weeks ago about police accountability and police issues in the community, so I'll make that link available to you if you want to see it.
Great, I'd love to see that.
Where was this meeting?
This was in Berkeley.
Berkeley or Richmond? Richmond.
Oh, wait, it was in Richmond, that's right.
Richmond.
Sorry.
Ken, are you gonna tape there's gonna be a meeting on, I think it's Sunday, December 13th, about police terrorists. It's a community meeting.
Where is it
I'll forward an email to you
Okay.
that I got on
at? Yeah,
it.
if I can, I will.
Any other public comments?
Could I elicit comment from the public? Could you tell us a little bit about how the Trader Vic situation is going? Any noise this week?
No. Yes.
Oh, I
Sunday.
must have been out.
Last Sunday, 3 parties, 2 during the day, 1 in the evening that got so loud and they were out on the deck after 9 p.m., which is later than the ordinance states, the noise ordinance. So the police were called and so was Trader Vic's to get the people off the deck.
And
So
did
3
they?
parties, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was after 9, and that's just, after all that we're going through, they could care less about the residents. I'm sorry.
No, but that's what we want to know. And
Yeah.
I'll be asking that question at every meeting, so,
Excellent.
okay.
I was out of town that day, so. Well, my whole thing's on Trader Vic's. I made copies I have a few copies definitely for Nora and Scott and Officer, Chief Tejada, and there's a couple more. So my name's Mary Farrell. I'm at 5 Admiral number 315. I'm also co-chair of the Residents Oversight Group for Watergate. And I want to talk about the noise ordinance and Trader Vic's. Basically, I personally, and I believe our group, does not want them to have a cabaret license, a yearly one. We think that the 4 times a year that the police department gives is sufficient. Want to address the no outdoor party space regarding the deck. The boardwalk leading to Trader Vic's does not belong to Trader Vic's. It belongs to the agency which governs the land upon which Trader Vic's sits. When Trader Vic's enclosed it to make a deck, did they get permission to do that? Because they blocked access. Did Trader Vic's get a permit from the city of Emeryville to build this deck out there? Did Trader Vic's go to the planning commission to get a permit or a variance to change the purpose of Trader Vic's from being a restaurant to being a restaurant with an outdoor venue for parties? When Trader Vic's built the deck and put a bar on it, they changed the restaurant from being a restaurant to being an outdoor party venue. They can have as many as 3 parties a day, and as you just heard, they did this Sunday, and they're all loud. The bar provides alcoholic drinks, and the parties get drunker and they get louder. The party revelers literally scream for hours. Having an outdoor party location within a few feet, we're talking like 20 feet to the edge of our building, it's in front of people's homes. It can't be what the city would normally allow. Since we maintain, Trader Vic's didn't get permission to change its purpose, to get it zoned for outdoor revelry. So we don't think any of you would like to live next door to this, and we certainly do not. Let's insist that Trader Vic's removes the bar from the deck and no longer allows outdoor parties. People can have private parties inside and keep the drunks in there. We don't hear them so much when the doors are closed and they're inside. In the 2004 Memorandum of Understanding between Watergate residents and Trader Vic's, the agreement was that the deck was only for people from the party room going outside for a breath of fresh air. There was no allowance for an outside bar or outside parties. They have never been in compliance to the agreement which they signed the paper to work with us. Regarding the noise ordinance, the noise ordinance needs to have enforcement 24/7. Extremely loud parties are often during the day, forcing residents to stay inside with their doors and windows shut, even on hot days, so we can't even get fresh air. The residents can also violate the noise ordinance by playing music extremely loud or having their own private parties where there's screaming and drunken revelry. I believe there used to be a time when there was more of a social contract where people tried to get along with each other more, but I think that there's been a general degrading of that kind of understanding of what neighbors are. And therefore, we need a strong noise ordinance that is strictly enforced and that has severe consequences so people take it seriously. This is really affecting our quality of life. When you are making these decisions on how to change the noise ordinance, will you have a citizen on your decision-making team for input? I would like to recommend that you encourage a member of our group to have some input before you make final decisions, because I know you're in the work in progress, and we'd like to be involved. We understand that we don't have a vote necessarily, but we'd like to have input when the decisions are being made. Thank you for listening and for your efforts to help protect the quality of life in Emeryville. We think the police department is fabulous. We see them more often, and they've all been extremely helpful. And thank you for coming to our meetings and sending your officers to our meetings. That really made a fabulous impression. Thank you.
I have a question for you, Chief Tejada. When these residents, when these noise disturbances occur, and the residents call the police department, how is that captured? How is that information, that statistic captured?
So when somebody calls into dispatch, dispatch enters the time of the call, what the nature of the call is, and who it's dispatched to, and when it's dispatched. They capture when the officers actually make contact, so we have the time frame from call in to call out and officer making contact, and then the disposition of the call is entered into the log. So it's all captured in our dispatch system, our record system. And so then Adrian, if I want to know from how many times we've been out there in a certain period of time, then I can ask Adrian to go do a query on Trader Vic's, and she'll do a query and pull out how many times we've responded and what the nature of the calls were.
The reason I'm asking that is because on the one hand, I hear from the residents that they have called into the police department, and then you made the remark that there weren't any calls on record about Watergate. Let's try to capture these calls now, and when we have our monthly meeting, have a segment where the Watergate calls are noted so we can all understand what is happening, like this last week. I don't know how many calls were made from Watergate about Trader Vic's, but that's the kind of information I'd like to capture.
Okay, so we do have it, and at city council, I said that we haven't had a large volume of calls.
Right.
But we have had calls, and actually, Adrian, you ran that for me last week.
Well, starting
So
from
I
now,
have it.
let's have that.
Okay, and I think one of the things, if I could add, is that I think the residents didn't wanna bother us with all of the incidents.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And now they know that that's okay, that that's why we're here, and just call us, we'll respond. So I expect that we'll see an increase in the volume of calls when these incidents happen. So we're all squared away on
And let's
PD.
capture that
Yeah.
statistic.
I have a question for Chief Tejada. Have you had any discussions with our city attorney, Mr. Gina, about the use of the deck and the rights of control of the deck space? That was something we inquired of him, I believe, to look into. And I'm wondering, has he
I think-
consulted with you about this?
Not about the death, because that falls into Charlie's area of responsibility for community development and planning.
Okay.
So, I'm not sure what the status is on whether whose property it's on. I believe it's on their property. I saw a map that I think Charlie put out.
Right.
That shows the deck is on Trader Vic's property itself, so it's within their property boundary. So, he's the better person to follow up on this. In regards to being part of the discussion on the noise ordinance, Michael is looking into the cabaret license issue and revising that for city council. And then he's also looking at our noise ordinance. So I will let him know that you want to be part of that discussion, but he's leading that charge, and we'll obviously be part of that, yeah.
There's another distinction I think we should make here, that it's not Trader Vic's property, it's Trader Vic's leasehold.
Yes.
The ultimate person who's responsible for what occurs on that property is the young lady who appeared before the council,
Yeah, the
who's
owner.
the owner of the property. So I think as we move down this road, we want to be sure that she is included, or whoever she represents, the true property owners understand the gravity of this and some of the things that could happen to affect their property. So we just want to make sure we get our arms around everybody, so everybody knows what's going on.
May I make a comment?
I agree.
Okay, so we have Andre and
Fran.
Fred. and then- Okay, Andre.
This is the second time I attend the meeting here, and there is no hearing assisting device here, and everybody know I attend the safety meeting here. You see, so and I did ask Ken Bukowski to give me a copy, he hasn't. What's going on here? This is not a personal agenda here, it's for the public. I just want to remind you that the safety issue is for everybody, not only those people who are interested in imposing others what they think. Thank you.
Can we have hearing assisted devices for the next meeting?
Yes.
Apologies, Andre, I didn't understand that from the last meeting, that we should have it, but we will get it.
Fred.
This is from Joe Lutz, who couldn't make it today, and he had a couple of questions. He wanted to find out about the status of the cabaret licenses and the fixes to the noise ordinances. So I'm assuming he would be included in any emails or information that goes out on that.
Both of those
It's
are in
not-
progress.
Yeah, so there's no new
No.
information to report. And I also wanted to reiterate, we're not trying to shut
Thank
Trader
you for
Vic's.
your cooperation.
We're not trying to shut Trader Vic's down in any way. Me personally, I'd love to see the deck shut down. It's just too problematic.
this is the comment I wanted to make about the number of reports. Years ago, I heard someone say that, when you're going to City Hall, I used to work with Oakland, and we had people go to City Hall often, advocating for the library where I worked. They said that a handwritten letter really represented about 50 people, and a person who goes in person represents 100. So if you figure that a phone call, by the time someone's angry enough, frustrated enough to call the police department, they're not alone. There have been times I've called and then they want to meet me downstairs. That means I've got to get dressed. I was trying to rest, so now I've got to get dressed, go downstairs, wait in the lobby, and disrupt my whole afternoon because they're doing something that's really offensive, and I know I'm not the only one, but other people tell me all the time, they're not going to call the police.
Right.
Sometimes they're people who are new to this country and are very frightened of the police. They have difficulty speaking this language. They'll tell me, they're not going to tell you. So if you get a phone call from us, I guarantee you it's representing more than just me.
Yeah, and that's a good point. You're absolutely right. Not everybody has the courage to call and ask for help. So, but one point of clarification is that if you choose not to be contacted by the officer, that's okay. You can say, I don't want contact, just please resolve the situation. If something comes up where we need your signature or a statement from you,
Right.
then we would recontact you, but you can say when you call in, I don't need to speak to the officer, I'm giving you all the information, just please handle the noise. Yeah.
Nort? I can make a comment. First of all, on the noise, just at Watergate, for example, last weekend, we had a call about loud noise and marijuana stuff. Two officers went there, our officers, security guards, they're not police officers, and they were greeted with a string of profanities and said, out of here. And so I just instructed my guys, that seems to be escalating, or more calls like that, is to call 911 and get the police involved, because we try to ask people to quiet down, and we'll make a note, send it to the property owner and get their cooperation, but the verbal attacks are above our where we're going with it. So we're just echoing which we go and we contact them, and if we're going to call the police too if they won't cooperate, and then go through the property owner to try to get better resolution. Just the other thing is talking about police visibility. In the last few weeks, I've talked to several times Officer Foley and Costello, and they've been really good about coming onto the property, walking the property, driving through the property, and actually paying attention to whatever's going on or what the voice of the community is. And they work hours pretty much comparable to mine, so that's who I see, so that's who I can refer to. And then when we had the vehicle fire, which was probably an arson fire a couple weeks ago, investigation division jumped on it right away, and Officer Head he was on top of it, and we just appreciate that. I've worked a lot of years in law enforcement with many different police departments, and I gotta say, you guys, get on top of things as quick as you can, and we appreciate that.
Can I make one more comment? We were talking about putting together a phone tree. So we have a group of people that make up this one tree, so you don't have to get the 50 phone calls. You could just say, this is Fran from the phone tree, and you'll know it's 25 people calling in. Are you amenable to that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we're trying to make your job.
Anything that gets us out into addressing the problem is fine with me.
Okay.
If you want to send smoke signals. The thing is.
Then this guy.
No barbecue.
Anything.
And use those illegal barbecues.
Yeah, right.
My point is that our job is to respond. So unless we know about it, because we're only a finite number,
Right.
then we are not out there possibly where we should be. So the calls direct our resources. That's really key. So if you can do that, that would be great. Yeah.
Chief, can I just, I don't know if it would help or not. Has anybody decided to maybe sit down with Trader Vic's management or ownership? A roundtable with the people from Watergate? I mean, have it here, and that way everybody could be on the same type of page and say, hey, this is our issue. We understand your business to have people here to eat and have a party, but we have a life to live in here. I don't know if these guys would be receptible, I don't know what Trader Vic's would be. But it sounds like that might be an avenue to approach.
I think that's a very creative idea, at least to extend that invitation, and it's right across the street.
Yep.
Oh, certainly the people who are most affected by the noise, you can round them up and get them to come over here, and then we'd have the police officers here. I think that's a great idea.
And we also had that group, that meeting about 6 months ago with Keir Fulmer, the manager of Trader Vic's, the chef, a couple of other people, and 4 or 5 people from that building.
Yeah,
And
this
and
makes it a
actually,
little
that
more-
sort of at the time, was really helpful, but I think certainly including the police department would be really
It makes it a little more
extremely
formal,
helpful.
and it
Yeah.
makes it clear to Trader Vic's,
Yeah.
that we're not screwing around here.
Exactly, yeah.
We're really trying to resolve this problem so that they can conduct a profitable business without damaging the neighbors night after night after night. That there's something, so that's a great idea, because it adds formality to the discussion. It's not just an offhand thing. Who will take the lead in pulling that together?
We can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, it seemed like the manager, I mean, the owner of the property, or the property owner's representative, maybe it's a large corporation and she is just a representative. We don't know that. She seemed to really hear the issue when she came to the council meeting.
Well, we
So-
definitely want to include her.
Yeah, she's gotta be at this meeting, or at least the property owners really need to hear this clearly.
Yeah.
It just seems like this is, something that
Yeah.
it can't just
Well, and,
be management. It just seems to be property owners.
and it
have
probably
to be
affects the
involved.
lease agreement, because there's probably something in that lease that speaks to issues like this. So it's not a joke.
Yeah. Okay, any more discussion on this item? Approval of October 1st minutes.
Great.
Okay, I second.
That was easy.
Action items, Emeryville Police resistance and aggression policy. And is that the same as this use of force?
Yes.
It is.
Policy.
We're in the process of redoing it and renaming it. We've got an update from Lexipol, who does the geos for a lot of departments in California.
Okay, would you say what a geo is?
General order.
Okay.
Are what we're governed by, our policies. So that is a draft. This is our draft that we're working with right now, up until we finish the updated one, which hopefully will be by the first of the year.
So is this general policy group a statewide group? Or how would you characterize this?
So, general orders for police departments contain best practices, case law, new legislation, and the department's own standards. Managing our general orders manual has, I don't know how many policies in there, it's about this thick. So several years ago, an organization called Lexipol, which is made up of people who have law enforcement experience, who are attorneys, and all experienced in the policy side of policing, offered a service to law enforcement agencies and cities to be the provider of a policy manual. So what they do is they keep us updated on legislative changes, on training mandates, on case law updates, and push out, every month any changes. Because if we were to manage this in-house, it would be so cumbersome and labor-intensive, we
Yeah.
would never be up to speed on it. So this service that Lexipol offers is very beneficial to us. So they push out a policy to us, and it's the same policy to every agency in California who has a service with them. When we get it, then we revise it to match our standards. We leave the legislative mandates alone, we leave case law information alone, any training mandates. We don't touch that because we can't, but what we can do is tailor it to our community's expectations around that policy, and that's what we're doing with this use of force. So, what you're reading is what was in place when I got here. So we are doing, our policy manual did not go through this in-agency revision process before. But I feel it's hugely important that we match community expectations and that we have the nuances of our noise ordinances in there, or, you know, whatever it is that mirrors the service that we deliver and the service the community expects. And that's what we're going through right now. Dave Hall, our interim chief, it's a huge project, but it's so important. I don't have the time to do it, and I don't have the resource in-house. So right now, Chief Hall is heading up this project for me, and he is going through the entire manual. We have an in-house committee. Everybody in this department has taken a piece of that manual, and they are revising it, reading it, making sure that it is what we want it to be. This is your opportunity to be part of this use of force, resistance and aggression policy. So I want you to read it and bring back to the table anything that you think should be in here. And we may be already covering it, but it's important for me to know, what is it? What are the questions you have about this? How can we help you understand, first of all, why we do what we do? But then, is there anything that we're missing? Is there anything that we should have in here that you think is really important? Now, some of the things, and we're not the only agency doing this. This is being done in many agencies across the nation because of the current narrative about issues with law enforcement and excessive use of force. So we have to do this, and we have to do it in a way that brings in the community expectations into the policy. And there are things that we can put in this policy, such as, you know, allowing officers to take time, extra time, to de-escalate a situation. A lot of our training is based on resolve it quickly, get the bad guy under control right now, and don't waste time. Well, that really got us into trouble in many areas. So the thinking now among most of the leaders in law enforcement, at least those who are thinking about this, is why don't we train our officers with more communication skills, more crisis intervention skills, more emphasis on, okay, you can't handle this and resolve it like this, to call in extra people, take your time, take a step back. As long as it's not somebody running around with a gun threatening to shoot people or shooting people, time is on our side. So it's having those conversations and looking at it from that broader perspective of a preservation of life training kind of approach. That's it in a nutshell.
I would hope also that statistics would come into it. If you have this circumstance, statistically, how does it end if such and such is done? Is there some kind of numeric tabulation of these kind of issues?
I would be hesitant to use statistics as a reference on how to resolve a high-risk situation. And I'll give you an example. We have been trained on the 21-foot rule when a knife is introduced to a situation. And the 21-foot rule, that kind of was part of the dialogue in many trainings back in, I want to say, the late 80s or the 90s. And officers were told that if you approach somebody who has a knife, if that person gets within 21 feet of you, your reaction time is diminished to protect yourself. So your life is in danger, should be shooting to kill the threat. So using that 21-foot rule has gotten a lot of agencies into trouble because the officers are automatically going 21-foot rule, take the shot. We want to get away from that. We want officers to use common sense, slow it down. Whenever, to not be boxed into, oh, this situation, I must do that. Well, maybe that situation can dictate different actions. So.
How do the officers feel about that? They're the ones whose lives
Yeah.
are at risk here.
Right.
And it, you know, I understand what you're saying about slow it down, et cetera, et cetera. But sometimes if you're in a life-threatening situation, slowing it down means you're dead.
Exactly, so that's why I put in that caveat. If your life is in danger or someone else's life is in danger, the officers have to stop the threat. Officers have to know that my life is in danger, somebody else's life is in danger, I'm going to use the force necessary to stop the threat, which sometimes means somebody gets killed. But that's always the #1 rule. Deadly force on deadly force.
We can bring this back at the December meeting
Yeah.
and discuss it and bring our input back. I'd also like to know whether or not Michael Gina has a copy of this and has looked it over from the perspective of
Yeah.
lawsuits against the city.
Yes.
I think it's very important that we have his comments and his input when we meet in December. And do you have an intention of bringing this before the council as a whole?
I haven't, that's not usually what we do with this. If that's your preference, we can do that.
I haven't really decided on this, but I know that there is a lot of interest on the part of not necessarily Emeryville residents, but outside people in the surrounding cities. So I'd have to think about that a little bit. Let's look at it again in December, in this meeting.
Yeah, so we could maybe do a study session with council on it if you like.
Well, let's hold off till next December.
My intuition is to, yes, for us to study it
Right.
till December, but transparency often, while difficult, is a better policy in the long run. And if the public really wants to know about this, they should know. People
Well,
have, you know, this is
I
important.
agree with you, Scott, but, you know, we're elected to serve the people of Emeryville.
Yes.
And the voices that we've heard from specifically against the police department, with 2 exceptions, were not Emeryville people.
Yeah.
So we have a study session, and it's the packed house, and 2 Emeryville people and maybe 150 other people. That tends to slant how people think. And let's bring it back to this committee, and then we'll decide in December how we proceed on this. I agree with you, transparency is very important, but you also have to take into consideration, who are we here to serve? We're here to serve the people of Emeryville.
That's right. We need to see, are the people of
What will
Emeryville
best-
served
yeah.
by that? I agree with that.
Right, what will best serve the people of Emeryville.
I agree.
Okay.
And just on the point of transparency, this will be available on our website. We have nothing to hide in our policy, so if anybody from the outside wants to take a look at it,
Excellent.
any community
So-
member, they can go on the website.
So the whole packet, the whole thing is available, open to the public?
We will, I don't know if
Your
we have
general
that
order?
capability, but my intention is to put those important policies like our domestic violence response, you know.
Good.
All of those things that are the high profile, because not everybody wants to read all of the, you know, how we do.
Mostly it's people with a specific,
It is, so.
bone to
So
stick.
protocols on those things that impact people's lives or those high-risk, low-frequency events, those are things that we would put up there. The policy is extensive. Yeah.
I think we all have to keep in mind that the people in this city are hands down, 85% positively supporting the police and the way the police conduct themselves in this town. And we can't lose sight of that because we hear your outside voices saying something else.
I agree, and I think our use of force policy as it stands is actually a very good policy.
I think it's a good policy. It's a little wordy. What can I say? I
No,
said.
the lawsuits are made of words,
Yeah,
come on.
exactly. And the more words you have, the more words they attack.
Exactly.
Right.
So I'll be interested to see your revision, so we'll keep this draft, and then, I'll be interested to see the revision.
Yeah, and I don't know, how it will be reworded necessarily, but my emphasis moving forward when it comes to resistance and aggression is making sure that we're giving our officers the training that they need for crisis intervention, making sure that we're emphasizing communication skills and how to de-escalate situations, because we do good work. There's not, if you look at the number of calls for service we have and the lack of citizen complaints, it's practically zero. If you look at the hundreds of contacts we make
Right.
per week, that tells you that these officers and our staff are doing a great job, and they're doing it right. But it doesn't mean we can sit back and go, well, we're doing it right. There's always an opportunity for improvement. There's always an opportunity to discuss these very important situations that come up, just to make sure that we're always going to be doing it right.
So when
that's
you're looking for revisions, I think clarity and conciseness.
for now.
Clarity is, yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
So we had, we've already set that in motion. We had one subject matter expert, Sergeant Lee. I gave it to him, and then he and I both did it. So he sent it back to me for the revision, and then I also revised it, put my points in, and now we're sending it to Dave Hall, who's going to send it back to the chief.
Great.
So it's going to go through a bunch. There might not be that much changed in it, just some wording.
No, basically, it's really, I think it serves its purpose.
Yeah.
But anything you can do to make it clearer and more
Absolutely.
concise is, I see it safer.
And if you're really motivated to really understand the use of force, there's one court case that has governed our use of force for 30 years now, and it's Graham versus Connor.
Brown versus
Graham
Graham.
versus Connor, and it's a Supreme Court decision that will help you really understand how when it goes to the Supreme Court, what they judge the police officer's decision to use force on. And that'll really.
Dante, could you send us a link to that?
I can send it, yes, I'll absolutely, I'll send you.
Just send us a
absolutely.
link, yeah.
Okay, that's good, that's great.
Great. Very good, I look forward to that discussion next month.
Okay, public comment.
Yeah,
Mr.
I just
Bukowski.
want to make a comment. You know, a lot of this is about perception, and when you got the piece that went out there with the assault rifle, so if you continue to carry an assault rifle, people aren't going to respect you no matter what you put in the paper. And I'm not saying you're carrying an assault rifle, because I don't even know if that's true or not. But I'm just trying to say that's the kind of thing you need to dispel, because that's what people are going to be looking at. Do you still carrying this kind of weapon, or you're going to show up in riot gear? Then what happens to the people that are there when you show up in riot gear? So I don't know. Just a couple comments.
Okay.
Any other comments about this use of force issue? Okay, information items. Alameda County Fire Department.
Tell us about the arson.
Yes.
Well, I have a question for the gentleman on that. I haven't met, I'm Chip, how are you?
Right.
You're saying there was a vehicle fire,
In the garage.
and how long ago was that? 'Cause I don't have it at all in
November
this.
2nd, my birthday,
Yeah.
What was it?
November 2nd.
2:14 a.m.
Okay, so it wasn't in my October report.
Correct, it's this
Okay.
month. It's
Okay, gotcha.
We'll hear about it in
A
December.
building.
Yeah, we'll hear about it next month.
Yeah, so you will hear about the next one. I'm looking in here trying to find this fire going, where is it? So it was after this report. Okay.
But the police are investigating it. Can the police say anything about it?
Yeah. Jason, do you want to give
Sure.
an update?
Suspect's already been identified. We've issued, we had him charged. We're not able to because of the video, and we don't have witnesses saying to the fact. I can tell you the suspect knows the victim, so it was a sought-out person. He has since fled the area. We do have the cases at the DA, and the DA did charge him with a violation of, he has a restraining order not to be able to contact this person. So that's where we're at. But we're hoping to pick him up on that. It'll be a warrant, we're hoping, because he won't show up. And then we'll take the investigation a little further from there and hopefully get him to interview him and find out. But-
And it's an investigative lead with the arson. So
Right.
we have not identified him
Yeah.
as being the suspect in this arson. He's an individual of interest.
Yeah.
But he's not a suspect in it.
Okay, but do you even?
Oh, go ahead, Scott.
But just you suspect that it's arson, you don't really know yet.
Well, it is arson because-
But we don't have a suspect named
Evidence
in the
showing it.
arson
Okay.
case.
Investigatively.
Yeah.
Well, Dante, this is very, very upsetting. An arson fire in one of the Watergate garages.
Yes.
How was it set in the car? Was it in the gas tank? What was the deal?
So I wasn't at the scene.
He used what is commonly known as a Molotov cocktail. So,
In the garage?
yes.
Could have been.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse.
Oh, my God.
With, I believe, not a witness, but a bystander saw the fire, notified 911. The actual sprinkler system in the garage went off.
What?
And, yeah, and
Yeah.
Alco Fire was on scene. Yeah, Alco Fire got on scene real quick and was able to, take care of the fire, so.
Thank God
yeah.
for the sprinkler system.
Yes.
But by when you say it's definitely arson, how do you determine if it's I mean,
A Molotov
Molotov.
cocktail?
well, Molotov cocktail, but, to really determine that, you have to take evidence, you have to have multiple people agreeing. I mean, isn't this
Absolutely,
something
yeah.
that, I mean, this is just a technical question about the law. I mean, it seems like when a court says it was arson, then it's arson, or a judge who's gonna be ruling on it. But are you allowed to say that it was arson just based on evidence?
Based on
It's
the,
intentionally set.
yeah,
Okay, so
intentionally
that, so
set.
you can tell the public in this, based on evidence, we believe that it is arson, and we're saying it is arson, as your
Oh,
department.
absolutely.
Oh, my Lord.
Okay. I
And
just-
it meets the criteria of the crime, so it has all the elements in the penal code of an arson. And like the chief said, we have, there is intent because you have to specifically put things together to make that Molotov cocktail and to deliver it.
So this is, sorry about my naivete, but I just have to know.
No, absolutely.
How you arrive at
That's
the
good.
statements that you're saying, that's all.
And it generally, in many crimes, comes back to intent. Can you establish intent to commit the crime?
Okay.
And in this case, yes. One of the things to keep in mind about this is that we believe that that act was targeting a specific individual. So for the rest of the residents in Watergate, you are not affected by, you are not the target of this individual who did that. And it just highlights, the importance of recognizing the severity of domestic violence cases and victims. And when you talk about having a phone tree in Watergate, you have quite a large population over there. Domestic violence is one of the most unreported felony crimes that we have. It is probably the most of our felony crimes are domestic violence related. And so when you talk about a phone tree, what popped into my mind actually was the voice of other people. It's really important for people of domestic violence and sexual assault to have a voice. So that phone tree could be used in that regard as well. Because these are the people who oftentimes just don't call for help. And so just, we're looking at this in the context of domestic violence, and just an important.
Okay, just about that major category of crime, isn't it true, statistically speaking, that more officers are injured dealing with domestic violence than any other type of crime?
Yeah, in fact, more officers die at the scene of a domestic violence. One of my friends was shot and killed in Martinez at responding to a domestic violence incident. It is one of the most dangerous incidents that our officers respond to because emotions are high. Anything that has a subject who is emotionally distraught elevates that risk factor for us. And they're very dangerous situations for us. So,
Okay,
good
Chip.
point.
Okay, now that we got that vehicle fire out of the way. We did have 166 total emergency incidents last month, a little lower than normal. Our average is 184 a month, which is good. We had one building fire under $5,000 damage. That was at, it ended up being a dryer fire. Actually, the belt burned up on the dryer, so it ended up being not an actual working structure fire, but that was at 1440 40th Street. So we did have a full response, including Oakland and their battalion chief on that
That
one.
building, is that fully sprinkled?
I do not,
1440?
I have no idea. It doesn't say that a sprinkler head went off, so it either didn't have enough heat or it's not sprinklered, so I don't know. I can find out for you.
Okay.
Moving on, we had one vehicle fire on the freeway. Two outside fires. One was a park bench, and one that they couldn't find, actually. So either self-extinguished or we didn't have an RP on scene.
Park bench, where? The marina?
That was at the marina. Correct.
Are your fire people able to determine cause?
They were not. Many cases, we can't find cause unless there's a match, a cigarette butt, something, you know. So
Yeah.
they always do an investigation. They were unable to determine on that one, which is very normal in our organization, or throughout the fire service, I should say. One hazmat call, and that was oil on the water at the marina, unable to determine cause. 39 false alarms, 2 investigations, which are smoke investigations. Service calls were 13, and service calls are assisting invalids, shared hydrants. We had elevator rescue, water removal from homes, get broken pipe, things of that nature, are your service calls. 107 emergency medical calls, 44 of those being here in District 34, 63 in District 35. No significant events overall for the month of September, which is always...
Actually, it's October.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you. October. Our inspections are 8% complete at this point and moving forward. And again, we pick up speed right now, being though the fire season is winding down and we're going into the winter months.
I have a question about emergency medical calls.
Mhm.
It's sort of an overall bureaucratic question. Do you get any funding separate from the cities to assist with this? Like, for example, someone who has insurance, are they contributing anything to the fire department for your?
No, we do not.
And it's just, all that has been looked at and,
The only money we receive is from the county. It's called FRAWS. And what it is if you have a paramedic on your apparatus, you receive, I think, $44,000 a year for that paramedic on the apparatus. And that helps maintain equipment and help pay for the paramedic. So it's not a lot of money.
Okay.
Overall. I know we've been looking into things such as a vehicle accident. Insurance companies have a line item when someone's in a vehicle accident to pay for the emergency services that show up on scene. So we're looking into that, how to recoup money when we show up these vehicle accidents. We in
Yeah.
turn would bill the insurance companies. So those are things that, fire departments overall are looking into, and it's just a matter of how do you do it. The billing, how do you do the billing? You'd have to hire a third-party administrator to do the billing kind of stuff. So, and I don't know if PD looks into that, or is there something for PD also?
It's a really good question, because I think also Kaiser, if you transport a Kaiser patient, you don't get reimbursed from Kaiser for the
No,
cost?
we have a private ambulance company, Paramedics Plus does the transport. They
If
get
it's Kaiser.
Well, no, most insurance companies, if you're insured, pay the transport costs to the,
Right.
we don't have ambulances.
Oh, you don't, oh,
No,
I see. Okay.
Paramedics Plus is the ambulance company for the.
I got it, okay.
Now, however, I think all know that, or maybe not, potentially within a year, year and a half, Alameda County Fire, we may be working with the county in doing transport. In other words, taking over the contract with Paramedics Plus, it would be a Alameda County Fire Department and the Alameda County EMS division running the transport services here. We're looking at
Only
that.
because it might save everyone money.
It would, because there are monies that private ambulance companies cannot get, but government agencies can. So on those calls, you might be able to recoup $300 a call, and we run 36,000 calls in our fire department. Most of those are EMS calls.
Yeah.
So you'd be able to recoup monies that would be given back to the cities. So that's stuff that our chief is looking into. It's a long, arduous task,
Yeah.
very political, that is gonna be happening. We'll know more in the next year in particular on that.
We want to track something down. Several years ago, the people in Emeryville voted a paramedic tax, and they're still paying that. We want to make sure that goes to the city. So we want to make sure that paramedic tax is utilized for Alameda County Fire. So if you can wind your way through the finance department and say, show us the money. Where's it going?
I was looking, I'm curious
Because
myself.
we want to
'cause
make sure.
All my tax bills, I pay paramedic tax for 20
Yeah, we want to
plus
make
years.
sure that it's not going into the general fund, that it's going into the, pay for the paramedics.
Yeah, I'm wondering,
and-
maybe that's how they support the FRALS money I'm talking about. Pay for
Chip,
paramedic.
I've got a question for you. There was an article just this week on certified unified progress agencies. The state took it away from Oakland because they were mismanaging it.
You talking about the hazmat materials?
It's the hazmat area. Now, I don't think Emeryville ever had a Coupa, but can you for next
So you want to find out
meeting,
if, I don't believe Emory is a Coupa.
find out, because the thing that I'm interested here, I think maybe the county, environmental health is doing it.
Correct.
But I want a report from them. What are they doing in Emeryville about checking the underground tanks? God knows we got enough of them. And then also the storage of hazardous, storage, use, and disposal of hazardous material. Can you get a report from Alameda County Enviro telling us just exactly what their activities have been in Emeryville, how many underground tanks there are, how many have they serviced, you know, that kind of thing, a complete report, if there's anybody there in the county. But we're paying for it, so let's find out about it.
Someone else had a question.
Well, I was just gonna ask Chip about Paramedic Plus. Are they still going to be having a contract, or did they lose it?
They go out to bid
Oh, did you?
when that time comes, which would be, their contract ends next year, October, but they have a 6-month extension with 2 3s.
Okay.
So I'm assuming nothing will happen until 2017,
Okay.
October. Giving them time to, it would go out to bid. For example, Contra Costa County this year did do that. It went out to bid. So Contra Costa Fire Department, County Fire Department, and their EMS division is kind of running the ambulance service, and it's AMR at the bid. So it's a public entity, government, you know, commingled,
Have we
which is-
had any
which is very-
complaints on the paramedic, not the paramedic service, but the ambulance service?
Here in for
Yeah,
Paramedics Plus?
none have come to my attention.
The issue was they underbid their contract, so they're losing money. So the county has had to subsidize them on their losses. So how
You've
that,
gotta be kidding me.
so how that's working, I don't know. That's Susan Marinucci, county administrator, who deals with all that stuff, so.
Well, she's tough.
Oh, she's a little
She's pretty
firecracker.
good.
She kind of reminds me of you.
She is a good administrator.
So that's between her, county EMS, the
Well, if
public
it's in her
provider,
hands,
or the
I'll
private
relax a
provider,
little.
And how that's, you know, because I know they just relieved them of several $1 million to keep them in business. And I don't know how they're managing all that and why and where the money came
But
from.
we're getting continually good service.
The service hasn't been a problem.
Very good.
Actually, my son works for Paramedics Plus, so.
Yeah, there you go.
We do have, I did talk about city council, we just hired 25 recruits that start in February, they're going to backgrounds currently. Will all 25 make it through backgrounds, kind of like the police department, you bring certain people in, some don't pass.
Most.
We currently are even having interviews Tuesday and today, Thursday, to get another group of folks to fill those who don't make it. And we're interviewing our reserves. They've already gone through many backgrounds. We have all the driver's license information, and they kind of work for us as a reserve. So we have 16 more people right now going through interviews, probably for a group of 4 to add on to that. It would be called limited term. So
Talking
someone-
about reserves, how did your course go over the weekend for the?
It went well. This is interesting. I just asked Jill that. We had 19 graduates,
Fantastic.
which is the most we've ever had in any city. And it's like I
That's
said,
great.
now here's the interesting thing. There was 50 people signed up originally with a waiting list of about 17, so 67 people, and we did have 19 finish. So what happens is people back out last minute because this is a free class. I think what
But
happens.
the word will get out when you do it again.
Well, she's done several in many cities. We've had to cancel some.
She the one that talked to the council?
Mhm.
She's
It's,
good.
it's her and it's one of her employees.
Yeah,
Her
she's good.
employee Jill, one of her gals, does most of the CERT training. We've had to
Oh, glad
cancel.
you had a good turnout.
I think Union City we canceled because there was not enough people. So this is the biggest turnout we've had this year, was Emeryville, which is good. So, we are having our open house Saturday next door. We have no idea how many people are gonna show up. I know Brian Ferrer, the captain there who's working today on a meeting after this meeting, has invited the world. And I said, well, it's a good thing we're next door to the police department in case we need traffic control. Make sure your folks come by
Yes,
and get a hot dog and
we
some
might
steak
open our
salad.
doors.
That's this Saturday coming?
Yeah, Saturday from 10 to 2.
2.
I'm assuming the barbecue will be in 11 to
Yeah,
1ish.
I wish we had more notice on it, because it would be nice to do a joint one, to have people
Oh,
walk through.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Be
next
very
time.
impressed.
Well, maybe we
Yeah.
can do a yearly open house between the
I'd
two
love to do
anyway.
that.
This one here,
Yeah.
this is the group working there that want to show appreciation to the city and the citizens
Okay.
for, what they really appreciate the firehouse. They've done a great job. They've spent hundreds of dollars of their own money doing collages, and they've brought back retired folks from Emeryville with pictures.
Oh,
and they've
oh,
created-
great.
They've done,
Oh, nice.
they've hung old fire helmets. I just walked through there a minute ago. They're excited about it. So, I'm giving them my Safeway card today, so they can go shopping we're starting with 200 people, and we'll move from there. I will be here. And if I see things are going low, I'm gonna go code 3 to Safeway with a PD escort.
And you're
to
gonna take
get-
all
to
your
get more-
leftover food to ECAP?
Oh, well, yeah.
Good, that's good.
If there is, hopefully there's leftover food.
Okay.
Well, actually,
Okay.
hopefully not. That's a delicate balance.
It
Yes,
is.
it is.
Right.
Because we have no idea, because I know they've handed out flyers even to your lobbies.
Oh,
they've
they're
gone around-
posted in all the lobbies,
And I
yeah.
put it on next door Watergate and next door Emeryville.
Yeah, it's on our website, it's on E-News, so I have no idea. It's gonna be very interesting. So it could be 10 people, it could be 300, I don't know.
That's true. That's true.
So hopefully we'll see some of you folks there on Saturday.
Okay.
Is that your finishing report?
Yes.
Thank you very
Thank
much. Police Department crime statistics.
Good morning. For October, we had 199 Part 1 crimes. This is a 14% increase compared to the previous month. Comparing year-to-date, we're up 21%. This is overall. Violent crimes, homicides, no change across the board. Rapes, we are up 1 compared to the previous month, but we're down 67% comparing year-to-date. Robberies, we're down 57% compared to the previous month. We're up 41% comparing year-to-date. The robberies this month, no patterns. We had 1 attempt robbery at 7-Eleven where a guy went in to rob, and the clerk actually jumped over the counter to chase the guy out. And we did have 1 shoplift where the persons did not want to go to jail, so they scratched the loss prevention officer and fled. And then we had a homeless person, 3600 block of Adeline Street. Someone had bought pizza from Lane Splitter, offered the homeless person a slice of pizza. The homeless guy socked the person in the face and took the whole pizza. But he was arrested shortly afterwards. He was arrested. Carjackings, we're up 1 compared to the previous month, but we are down year-to-date 25%. Aggravated assaults, we're significantly down compared to the previous month. And that's because we count, the previous month we had like 11 victims that were shot at the Bay Street Mall. And for assaults, we count them per victim. So you have one case, but multiple victims is going to equal multiple assaults. So that's why there's such a decrease in that area. However, year-to-date, we're up 33%. Simple assaults, we're up 56% compared to the previous month.
Would you remind me what a simple assault is?
A simple assault is, it's a misdemeanor, and it's you can spit on somebody, push somebody, hit somebody. That's
No
a simple
injury.
assault. No injuries, yeah.
Okay.
Aggravated assaults, you get shot at, somebody slings a knife at you, stab you, shoot you. It's all assaults with injuries. For property crimes, we are up in our auto burgs 24%, and that's compared to the previous month. However, we are within our normal range for this month, for October. And when you look at our 3-year average for the current month, we are still below that as well. But we still are up, we're up 19% year-to-date. And this is one of those crimes where across the states we're seeing, a
Until we
trend.
educate the victims to
Yeah.
leave nothing in
Nothing
their
in the
car.
car.
This
Exactly.
statistic is going to keep
You
appearing.
need to ask Dante about his new
Yeah.
program.
Yes. And yeah, Captain did implement a new program that he's
Oh,
done.
very good.
Did you see our sign?
I saw it.
I
It's
saw
the
it.
big sign
Big
when you
sign,
go
yeah.
into Powell Street Plaza.
Yes, we'll
Yeah.
let Dante speak to it because it's his program.
Well, thank you, Chief, but I can't take all the credit for it.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, you
Yeah.
can.
Well, so what we did was we developed these cards, and they're report cards that are put on by the officers, the detectives, the sergeants. They go to each car, and I had Adrian do the stats for me, so we have a baseline on what to compare it to see if we're successful with it. So we also bought a sign, a street sign you'd see on like the freeway, a large sign, and we put it in the Powell Street Plaza. But you can see it from like Christie and Powell. So and a lot of people that are going southbound on Christie, maybe they're going to Bay Street or they're going to go to Target. They can also see it. Now, whether they forget about it before they get in there is another thing. But we have the officers. We ordered like 300 cards, I think. We split them up amongst the teams.
This is great.
And yeah, and what they do is they'll go to, they'll hit out at the Powell Street Plaza, and they'll mark the cars that either have stuff that people have left in there that's going to lead to probably a crime, or they secured everything. And then the officer will put a check mark on whichever one, if they either passed or didn't pass.
So you're
Based
gonna
on-
put these on all the cars, not just one, not the ones that have stuff in them.
All
That's
of them,
good.
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah,
And
we're
then
not
it
gonna
gives-
identify them.
Yeah.
Rob me.
Have the property
I
owners,
asked the same question. Did I not?
have the property owners been involved with you on this, or responded to this, or did you clear it with them first? I'm just curious how.
Absolutely, yes. Great question. And, yeah, we made sure we cleared it first, because we didn't want to, again, the publicity that comes out that says, hey, we got a auto burglary problem in the Powell Street Plaza. Well, I won't go to the Powell Street Plaza in Emeryville, I'll go to the one
Right, yeah, this is
wherever.
So-
So no, they're receptive to it, and then there's been so much media attention to auto burglaries now. I mean, it was just on Channel 5 the other
San
night.
Francisco, right,
Yeah, and they've
right.
had like, I don't know what they.
18,000, I think.
14 or 15, yeah,
I
30.
think it was like 18,000.
18,000 auto
Wow.
burglaries.
Wow.
18,000,
This
Bay
is
Area
great.
wide?
No,
San
San
Francisco.
San Francisco, the
San
city
Francisco,
itself?
Yeah.
So we're gonna do this in the marketplace too, and in the East Bay Bridge Center?
Yeah, so we're gonna see if it's,
You only got 300 cards? Come on,
we
guys.
just ordered more.
So Dante's methodology around this to start the program is to do it in one lot and see if it impacts the incidence of auto bursts, and it already has. So we need to
Wonderful.
measure it. So to measure the success, we just do it in one, pay attention, look at the stats, and it's already successful. Hopefully, we're not jinxing ourselves.
Mhm.
But he also did something else with the hotels, because it's people who are visiting
Mhm.
that
You
are
bet.
often the targets. And so there's a component of this that I think is also important.
What'd you do at the hotel?
So we just, the chief said, why don't we minimize that and make it into a little bit, smaller card that the hotels can pass them out to people coming in, because
Yeah.
that's the big thing. I mean, we've all done it. Left a softball glove or Apple, suitcase or whatever, or a computer in there, and then it gets taken. These people, they don't have, they're gonna go somewhere. The people that are committing these crimes, and we love our cities, around us, but hopefully they go over there to do it, and
Amen to that.
don't do it in Emeryville, because they're gonna do it, and they have all day to do it. They have all day to watch, what people do,
Sure.
and it only takes a couple times for somebody to forget, and then we have a staff.
Yeah.
I have a question. Since the holiday season is coming out, when you say don't leave valuables in your car, is that the trunk as well?
Yes, because like in my vehicle that I drive for the city, all we have to do is, so one of the, something that they'll watch, so if I'm watching the Powell Street Plaza and I'm a criminal, and then I see the sign, and then I say, well, you know what, I'm just gonna put it in my trunk. So what they see you do is they see you open the trunk and put it in. But then a lot of cars can have the trunk opening inside their car. So it'll take them about 2 more seconds, but they'll break the window, pop the trunk, and then go into the.
What do you suggest people do? Because if you're out shopping for gifts and you go to your car and put stuff in, you're gonna go somewhere else.
Right.
You're not gonna keep going home to drop your gifts off.
No, so what you wanna do is, if you can, before you come to your stop, like say you went to, you're on a big shopping day, and you wanna go to Bay Street, and you wanna go to Powell Street Plaza after. So maybe put your stuff in the trunk prior to parking, so they don't see you taking it out and putting it into the trunk.
They'll know it's there though, because of the season, I would think.
I think anything you can do, a lot of these criminals, they want a quick hit and move on. So some of them are walking through the lots to see what they can see inside the car that's left exposed. If we can just minimize that part of it and get the crimes of opportunity, diminished or wiped away, we'll be making a big dent. You're right, sometimes you just can't avoid putting stuff in your trunk. Like Don just said, if you're putting it in and moving to a new location, then you've probably solved the problem, if it's not visible from the outside.
Dante, this last paragraph is fabulous.
What is it?
It's effective policing in a crime-free Emeryville takes teamwork. Thank you for being part of our team. Notice, all cars in this area received a flyer, not just vehicles with unattended property. That is great, great. Good job, good job.
So that, really, it is a department-wide project, because I can't pass all those out, and these guys are taking time out of their day to pass them out too. So hopefully it lasts. We hope it does.
That's a good point. It's a cat and mouse game.
It is.
It
We
is.
get they propositions and new laws and stuff like that, put the criminals back out on the street. And we, instead of sticking our head in the sand, which we can't do because we owe it to the community, we have to get smarter and creative.
Yeah, and it's not gonna change going forward. You're gonna have to be creative again.
Mhm.
Yeah, but we really, it is about working with the community, and that see something, say something, message needs to be said all the time.
Over and over again.
See something, say something. We're
Right.
here, we're waiting for the call. See something, say something, call us, get us out there. It's really important. It works.
Yeah.
And
That's great.
it is
Good. Glad you guys like it.
And one of the things that we might be able to do with our test area for this is if we can show that there is a decrease in auto burgs, we might qualify for a grant to put more money into the program to pay for these, to, you know, help us get more information pamphlets and.
A county-wide grant or a
I don't
state
know, there are
grant?
different, like Target just gave us a $2,500 grant for our, what's the night,
National Night Out.
National Night Out. They have other
Oh, good,
grants,
good,
yeah, so, Target is one area, you know, there are different organizations. We could possibly go to our commercial base in Emeryville and say, hey, big buck people,
Okay,
we need some help.
careful, ask Mr. Gina some questions.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
This
we're.
is like, you know, then you could be perceived of maybe as like separate charges for commercial use of police or whatever, you know.
Yeah, no, it's not uncommon, like Target giving the grant, it's not uncommon for private and public partnerships to fund programs like this.
And it's state laws settled out on
It's
this
very
and everything,
common.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, we have to work together and we have to foot the bill together.
You know,
Yeah.
we're forgetting a whole part of our population that has more influence than we think, and that's the school kids.
Yeah.
Is there any way we can work with the school district to just emphasize this idea of not leaving stuff in cars? I mean, you have it all in that little handout.
Kind of like exit drills in the home that we teach the kids at a young age that come home.
Exactly,
They
exactly.
hold their parents accountable.
Listen, that's more effective than you think, because, you know, everybody likes to be a know-it-all. Don't leave anything in the car, Mom.
Yeah.
Especially if it's their Christmas present. It's getting
Oh,
stolen.
absolutely.
That's a great
Perfect
way.
time-
That'd be a
perfect time
perfect
to
time
do
of
it.
year.
Yeah.
Santa
Mom, I don't want my
brings
Christmas
for a
present
lot.
stolen.
Yeah, it's a good, we are gonna, bring the schools into, you know, we have a new, K-9 being trained. So I wanna get the schools involved in naming the K-9 and having a drawing competition.
Wonderful.
For our new K-9, so we wanna build that relationship, but this is a great idea to.
Well, because they are very effective, those
Yeah.
little buggers.
That's great.
Parents pay attention.
That is good, yeah.
Okay, Adrian, we totally trashed this.
That's all right. But we didn't add to that we are working with other law enforcement agencies, a collaborative effort to identify suspects, which we have done. And we are not tracking them, but we are keeping track as to who's doing what and where and who's arrested and who's in custody, who's not in custody, you know, those types of things. So we are talking with other law enforcement agencies about this. Commercial burglaries, 600% increase. That's from 1 in September to 7 in October. There's really no pattern there. We just had an increase in commercial burgs this time.
Any particular area?
They're all over. We did have one burglary at Italics over on Hollis Street where the door was smashed. Person went in, took an iMac computer. Back in June and July, we had a pattern or a series of burglaries. I don't know if you remember, but we had a series of burglaries where iMac computers and Dell laptops or desktop computers were missing. The person used a hammer or a rock and a sock to smash the window. Well, that guy did get arrested in August, but this one at Italics kind of fits his MO. There's no evidence, there are no tools left behind that he left behind before, but this is the type of computer that he takes, and he's out of custody. So we are keeping our eyes open to, you know,
Revolving
to see
door.
if we're gonna
Maddening.
see another pattern crop up again. So, yeah, revolving door. As for residential burglaries, we did have a pattern, an uptick in bicycle thefts from garages and storage units. Park on Powell was hit, they had like 4. The suspect did get arrested. We haven't had any since then. And what he was doing, he was removing the bolts from the gate. I guess that's how he was getting in, because it didn't show, there was no force or anything, but that's what he was doing. And he was stealing bicycles. And when we did arrest this guy, he had property on him from other burglaries across town in our city. So He was pretty much going all over the place in our
How did
city.
you catch him?
He was,
Security.
yeah, security got him, huh?
Security spotted, he was downstairs in an unauthorized, and then they questioned him, and
Is he an
then basically
Emeryville
said that was
resident?
here.
He's a
Took off,
transient.
And then we caught him.
Not sure where his ties are, but he's a transient. So.
What do
so-
they do with these bikes? Where do they sell them? Where do they get money for them?
I'm not sure.
Sometimes they'll bring them to the flea market. Sometimes they'll sell them, the more expensive ones, they'll sell them through Craigslist, eBay, yeah, or they'll just, they'll sell them on the street.
There used to be registration of bicycles, and I guess that's sort of fallen away. Cities used to do it, it was inefficient.
Mm.
There are now some private parties doing it, some law firms are doing it, actually.
I think there's actually a national register for bicycles.
We used to be part of
There is,
that,
Mhm.
Yeah, you can still.
but no,
Fire
there
used to do
wasn't
it.
that much interest in it.
We did.
No, a lot of people don't capture their serial numbers on their
Which was
bikes
always odd to me.
anymore. So even if we find the bike, we can trace it
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Unless they provide us a serial number.
90% of those bikes, I mean, unless it's a high dollar bike, they don't write down the serial number.
Right.
So they don't track it, they don't have that law, so, but if you have it written somewhere, and now with your cell phones, it's easy to flip the bike over and take a picture of take a picture of the bike, take a picture of the serial number,
Well, with the
and
cell
document it.
phone, there's an app that you can trace the cell phone, right? If
Mhm.
somebody steals it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can't they put a little chip on bikes to do that?
Yeah,
Like
they do have those, they have those things that you can put it on anything and track them.
Oh, do
Right.
they?
Oh, yeah, yeah. They sell those
Somebody
things.
should tell the TV people
Yeah.
that, so they don't keep losing their cameras.
Well, yeah, yeah, those are
I'm
expensive
not-
cameras.
I'm not-
No,
yeah,
those,
Yeah,
we're
I'm not
talking
kidding.
$30,000-$40,000.
You would have
We
thought
got a
that
couple
they-
from Emeryville.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's interesting you say we used to do that, we did. When I first got hired, you know, we'd flip the bike over, we had our punch, we'd do the whole thing, fill out the card, send it to the sheriff. And then probably early 90s, we're doing it and we're caving in the housing for the, because they
Oh,
changed
yeah.
the Taiwanese and
Mm.
thin metal, and we're doing the ka-tink, oh no! Brand new kid's bike, we're putting
You
dents in
broke
it,
my
oh
bike.
no! We actually had to stop, we were damaging bicycles
Yeah.
doing that. So then they went to the stickers,
Yeah, the metal.
non-removable.
Yeah, yeah, non-removable.
Heat 'em
Those
up,
are very
take 'em off.
comfortable.
So even though we had a
Oh, sorry.
150% increase compared to the previous month, we are down 20% comparing year to date, which is good. Grand thefts, we're down 25% compared to the previous month, and we're only up 3% year to date. Petty thefts, a lot of shoplifts at Target. They're like the #1 place for people to go and shoplift. But we're up 10% compared to the previous month and 40% year to date. Auto thefts, we are up. We're seeing an increase in auto thefts. We're up 63% compared to the previous month, but we're down year to date. We're seeing Honda Accords and Civics, the usual. Those are
But
number
older
one.
models, right?
Yeah,
Not-
older
not
models.
new
That's
models.
that's nothing new. That's been happening for a long time.
Because it's easier to get.
Yeah, it's easier to break into those and
You do with
defeat
a
the
hairpin.
mission. And that's pretty much it. We're down in our mental illness detention. 5150s, we're down 38% for the month, and -8.
Are we still working with home, go home people for the transient? Everyone home?
Oh, I don't know. What do we have?
No.
You know, we're still having that problem on San Pablo Avenue and around 36th and Peralta. And Everyone Home is, it's this organization we're a part of. Our housing coordinator, I think, attends the meetings. Let's see if we can get more attention to some of our transients in Emeryville being placed in these homes, if we can.
So one of the things we've done is created our homeless liaison officer program. And so now we have 2 officers, Eric White and Ed Mayorga, who have stepped up to be that point of contact in the police
Oh,
department.
good.
So that they can work with our homeless coordinator in the city, her name is Catherine.
Catherine, yeah, that's good.
So we just put that in place, and when they get information about people who need assistance, they can forward it to her, because we're more likely to run into people than Catherine
Oh,
is.
absolutely, absolutely.
So, and then they're also involved, I went with Eric to that meeting regarding the encampment behind Target.
Right.
And, so, you know, we're trying.
Good.
We have limited resources, you know, I wish I could have a community service officer who, you know, is full-time on all these, problem areas, but we don't have that luxury, so, at least identifying 2 people in-house who will be that point of contact is a step in the right direction.
You know, right now, because we're coming up to an election year, there's this big focus on housing for veterans. Do we have any idea about the homeless veteran population in Emeryville? Any way we can track that down?
No, I don't know.
Like when you have a contact with
Yeah.
one of these people, for whatever reason, whether it's a crime or whether just saying hello or help them, because we might be able to get funds for vets.
We could.
housing.
I actually did this in my last job. I created a homeless outreach program there. And one of the things I did was I brought in the county vets coordinator. And he trained my officers how to approach a vet, how to have that conversation. And there are certain ways that you ask questions that get you the information you're trying to get in order to help them and link them to resources. And one of the simple things that he taught the officers is that you don't say, "Are you a vet?" Because some people will not acknowledge that, but the better way to serve it is, to say it is, "Have you served?" And
Yeah.
that has more likelihood of getting the response yes than "Are you a vet?" Because a vet has such a negative connotation in for some people, maybe
Yeah.
they. And this guy taught us that even if you were, you know, dishonorably discharged, which is why some people might not admit to being a vet, but the fact that they served still qualifies them for
It's a
service.
positive, it's positive.
It's a
yeah.
positive, but it also qualifies, he said there's probably not a person who has served that doesn't qualify for some service.
Right.
And we actually got some people into housing, linked to services that they didn't have before, because we weren't just.
So are we gonna get our officers to take that training?
That'll be part of the program.
I
is to
think
link
that
them
is
to
the
that
way,
person.
instead of just saying, there's nothing we can do about it,
Yeah.
that's a way to really disperse that population in a positive way.
Right.
Not just push them across the border,
Right.
but really establish something.
And there are, you know, when you speak about homeless people, a lot of us tend to go towards the criminal drug addict profile. But homeless people, you know, and I'm probably preaching to the choir, but I just want to, you know, say it, that it could be a youth who's running away from a violent home. It could be, you know, somebody who lost his or her job and they were living paycheck to paycheck. You know, the family that's living in a car, maybe the breadwinner in the family lost his or her job. You know, it could be a domestic violence victim escaping a violent home. There's so many reasons, in addition to the drug addiction, alcohol addiction, that, you know, often leads to a criminal lifestyle. There are other reasons why people become homeless. And that's what we need to be, you know, thinking about when we're contacting people, and, you know, that they're not all criminals and drug addicts. Even if they are, they deserve a hello, how are you, you know?
Right.
So,
Does our homeless and transient population vary by the time of year?
I'm not familiar enough with here, but generally
I don't know, I never
speaking.
tracked it.
and-
There's really no way to track that,
Yeah, I
I
don't know.
guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
Say
context
one
to
way or the
context, I
other.
would
Yeah.
say probably not, because we have a very mild weather. Our weather's not like really cold and
Well,
stuff
just
like
in
that.
Los
yeah.
Angeles, it really soars in the winter
Yeah,
because people come
snowbirds,
from.
Right,
right, the
right.
snowbirds, they travel down.
I was just
Yeah.
wondering if that's true for our city.
Yeah.
But isn't there also the situation that up until a couple of years ago, Nora probably knows this, that Alameda County was covering a lot of the issues regarding people who don't have homes, whereas the last couple of years it's become more focused on the city's the individual cities to start covering it. Because we had a fairly lengthy presentation at the Housing Committee. John Bowders, I know he had talked to you about it, knows a great deal about this, and he talked about that. And Catherine Furbo had also talked about the fact that that the county really had taken a much larger position on providing social services and the different things that needed to be done, but that they have started backing away from their support, and now Berkeley is starting to have to, you know, put more resources into it, and that the city of Emeryville is also starting to have to put more focus on it. Maybe I got that wrong,
No,
but that's my
you're
understanding of
absolutely
it.
accurate.
Yeah, we've been definitely adding more resources.
And so to say what is the history of this over 20 years, you can't really say, because really up until a couple of years ago, it was really maintained on a county-wide or a larger
You know, what we
area.
have to address, you know, here at the public safety meeting is the contacts that our police and fire
Yeah, yeah.
have with the homeless, and how to use some mechanism to reduce that type of drain on the resources and getting them into good, safe places. Along those lines, Chief Tejada, about this particular population, how are we coming along working with Oakland about that area on Wood Street in back of Target? I think that that street back there should be red tagged so that nobody can park back there. That's part of the problem. To red tag it so that nobody can park their cars there, it's going to eliminate all those trailer cars and trailers and stuff. But it's Oakland, so we can't red tag it, although we did that on 53rd one time, but that's a different story. But can we?
Do you want to be chief for a day?
No, good God, no. But does that make sense to people?
Yes, I mean, the city, we went, Officer White and I went to that meeting where Oakland city government representatives were there, business community people were there, Department of Public Works from our city, their city, both police departments, and so there is.
See, this is just a small itty bitty change.
Yeah.
And could you
Which
call up
could have-
Sabrina and say, Sabrina, red stripe those streets?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that they talked about immediate changes.
Yeah.
But if you do something like that, where are they going to go? Right. So the conversation went from, let's just force them out now, to, well, let's look at having a comprehensive approach to this so that when we push them out, it's the kinder, gentler approach. When we push them out, we're also here to catch them for social services, so that they don't end up
I don't
going
buy
to
it.
another street.
What that says to me is, we're just pushing it down the line.
Well, so for instance, bringing like everybody has a home or whatever that
Yeah.
program is, having that present, you know, having animal shelter present for the animals
Yeah,
that are
yeah.
gonna be left over or a problem or whatever, but having a wide spectrum of like the safety net to catch the things that can be addressed, that we're not gonna move, that they are not gonna move further into Emeryville or into another location in Oakland.
See,
So-
I hear that, and I think about the people at 1500
Yeah.
Park and the Icon that are really being impacted by this population.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that the red curbs, no parking down there, would change that situation immediately.
It would. I wanted to
So-
be chief for a day.
No. We got to think, we'll have to think about another approach. What do you think, Scott? Because
Well-
you guys are impacted by it too,
Yes.
to some extent.
I mean, there's the variety of homeless population is just still amazes me. It's a huge, diverse
Oh, you
group.
bet.
And so, you know, you have no parking, that just takes a certain group away. It doesn't take what looks like the major group away. So, you know, it's like, we can do that, but it's still not gonna solve the problem. The problem is multi-pronged, and it's gotta be addressed partly by what you're saying, is having all these different agencies, because the people that can afford cars that are going there are totally different people that are actually living there more consistently. You know, the people that are living there more consistently are a different group than come in for the winter, like we had last winter, that lived underneath our bridge. That's different than the existent population that's down on Wood Street right now.
The dilemma is that our residents, 1500 Park, Artist Co-op, the Icon, they really do not feel safe walking those streets at night because of that concentration. And something positive has to be done for the homeless population. But at the same time, I think we have a responsibility to our citizens to let them have an area where they can freely walk or bike at night without being afraid.
I am for us doing a temporary fencing around our future dog park
Well,
right
I'm
now.
pushing for that myself, so let's
Yeah, so
push a
I
little
think
harder
that
on that.
with multi-pronged approach, we get that place, say, look, this is coming, here's the provisional design from the architects. You know, get some lights on our signage talking about our provisional design, at least offer the people that want to camp under that bridge for the winter some knowledge that, hey, this is going to be developed into a park for dogs. Do you really want to set up for the winter? No. You know, we can, I think we got to do that immediately, is my opinion.
And I think when you talk about moving people, I mean, I think this is one of the things that's come up in the last couple of years because of the focus on the cities as opposed to the county, is that when Alameda County, when the city of Albany started closing off the bulb, it forced people into a different area in Berkeley, and then Berkeley, you know, started trying to force people out from under the highway, and so there's been a lot of sort of shifting around that's come around. It's just something that I think needs to be considered.
The Albany bulb shutdown
Yeah.
really made it worse for Berkeley, that's for sure.
And then Berkeley also
And
tried to
Sunrise
force
Park,
people out.
when they had, you know, out of Cedar Chavez Park, they had 25 years ago, they had all the homeless people out there with their campers and everything, and then they had a couple of murders. You guys are all too young to remember. But they closed that down, that was bigger than the Albany bulb.
San Jose had, I think they had the biggest encampment in the United States. And when they.
On the Guadalupe?
Yeah, and when they took everybody out of there, they had to go someplace, and now they're in the shopping malls. They're all over the place, because they really, if it's, like you were saying, if it's not a comprehensive approach, they're not all of a sudden gonna come into a down payment on a house, you know, so that they have to go somewhere.
So, well, we can't ignore it, so I'm glad at least we have the disciplinary approach. Okay. I have,
You've got a question?
I just wanted to add in there that there seem to be more and more homeless people in the Marina Park. And you take walks there and, you know, as the sun goes down, it sometimes feel a little uncomfortable. There just seem, so they're coming there too. So that's an area that needs some social
that
outreach.
was my next question with Marina Park, because I have a meeting with someone who's a marina renter, a boater, and she was saying that there's problems out at the marina, but I have not had any other complaints from people out at the marina, and I'm wondering if next month we can also pull out any kind of statistics on the marina. In fact, if I could get some of those statistics before Monday when I have this meeting, that would be very helpful. Just a recap of the last 2 or 3 months at the marina, whether there were any crimes, call-outs, stuff like that.
Can you do that, Adrian? There was one right outside my bedroom window a couple of weeks ago.
A what?
Passed out, homeless, completely high as a kite.
And did you call the police?
Of course.
Oh, good.
2 of them showed up and it was gone, but it was so sad because people were stopping and walking on the boardwalk to ask if he needed help, and he was just too far. It was so sad.
Not easy. Okay, that's all I've got today.
I think we are approaching being done. Or staff comments for future agenda items? Well, we're coming back, we know, with use of force. Comments on that. Announcements?
like
Come
that.
to the barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah, barbecue. We just found out that our fire department's gonna be running, Urban Shield for the fire side of things, and that's that large exercise that we just kicked butt in this year. We are now the agency running it. We ran it 2 years ago.
And where are you gonna run it, down in Hayward?
Obviously, the water will be out on the bay, so we'll have all the boats on the bay, same as before. This is our local waters that everybody goes in. Most of it will probably be based in the Tri-Valley. We're just trying to find sites for the hazardous materials portions and the use our urban search and rescue. It's quite a laborious task. I will probably be the IC if I continue to stay here through next year. I haven't decided that yet.
Come on, get a grip.
That's funny. Crack me up. So it's gonna be very interesting, but we have a good group of folks who've been involved and part of Urban Shield for several years, so it will be a good event. It's gonna be very interesting.
And-
Hopefully PD gets involved, everybody should be involved, right?
We did, we hosted a site,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do we anticipate hordes of people coming in Saturday morning at 7 o'clock for the big implosion?
It happened already,
For
didn't
the
it?
bridge.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Oh,
What
7
what-
in the morning?
what are you talking
They
about?
put it off.
Blowing up the Bay
No,
Bridge.
it's
They
supposed
put it
to
off and they
Footage,
said that it was
a
gonna
couple
to the
depend on.
14th.
Right, and they said it was gonna have, they didn't say that it was gonna be at a certain day, they said time, they said it was
Well,
gonna
I
be.
thought they said it was gonna be the 14th.
No, the day, but initially they said it was gonna be like at 9 AM or something, the previous week. When they changed it, they said it was gonna have something to do with the tides and there were all these things, so it could be happening in the morning, it could be happening in the afternoon.
Well, just to let you guys know, we may have a lot of
Yeah. Well, then come to the
And let's
barbecue.
hope the new bridge doesn't fall down from the
Come by and get a hot dog.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
That's what we're discussing. And they didn't wanna make it
I would think I'll be hitting the store.
public knowledge about when they're gonna do it, because they didn't want everybody just lined up watching everything.
Okay.
So, I don't think they're.
Member
set
comments,
time.
Nora?
I made all my comments.
Okay, I think we're adjourned here.
Thank you, Sam. Oh, by the way, you're the chairman for next year too.
Oh.